Hey guys, this is Coach AW. In this video, I want to talk to you about how did you get to where you are right now? You will notice the more of my videos you see, you will notice that I always tell a story. I tell a story usually about myself because as I grow and as I have gotten older, I realize the person that I should know and that I do know best is myself. So I asked myself, it come a time in my life that I had to ask myself, how did I get to where I am now? That was along that 40-year age. How did I get here? How did I, at 42, I found myself standing in a place that I had never been before. I found myself a 42-year-old woman that was divorced, going through a divorce, and walking away from everything that I had ever known with very little. And I was okay with that at the moment. But I had to ask myself later on, probably about 10 years later, I asked myself, how did I get to that place? I don't have any regrets about anything that have happened in my life because I see the value of it. Everything that have happened in my life, the good, the bad, the painful, the tears, the laughs, all of it was part of my building process to get to where I am now, to get to this moment where I can tell this story. So let me tell you exactly how I got to that point to be that 42-year-old woman that would just walk away from everything she had worked for. Because at the time, I had been married for 26 years. Got married very young, 16. But I walked away from all of that. And in hindsight, hindsight's always 2020. But in hindsight, I end up asking myself, how did I become that woman? And usually, if we are willing to look back and dig deep enough, we can find our answers. My fall down the basement stairs began when I was 6 years old. At 6 years old, I was so full of life and I so believed in myself. But at 6 years old, also, I had a very uh, bad speech impediment that caused me to, when I spoke, it sounded like I had a very thick German accent. Now, mind you, you're talking about a 6-year-old little black girl in rural Mississippi with a very thick German accent. And it didn't really bother me. My sisters and brothers picked at me, but that was okay. I was okay with that. Whatever, do what you need. I'm cool with that. But then when I started first grade and the kid in school would pick at me and laugh at me. So my teachers, every year, once a year, we would have at our school, once a month, we would have at our school a big program from first through 12th grade. That's when everybody went to the same school, one schoolhouse. And the kid, we would start at first grade, and first grade would do their little part on the stage, and then second grade, and go all the way up through 12th grade. Well, since my name is Alice, and I was in first grade, I was the first one to do my part. And my part was that I had to I had to step up to the front and I had to say, A is for apple, so red and round. And I was so proud of myself because I knew my part. I was going to be first. And I remember before they had these long, big velvet maroon curtains that they would pull back. It would be somebody on this side and somebody on that side, and they would pull them, and the curtains would open, and there we stood. And there I stood with my little apple, my letter, the apple on my card, and my big A and on my card, and I'm ready, and I'm thinking, this is my night. So I step to the front of the stage and I say, A is for apple, so red and round. And all of a sudden, the whole auditorium burst into laughter. Oh, they laughed, they laughed, they laughed until the teacher, stepped up front. I would assume, I don't know. The only thing I remember is when I heard the laughter, I made a decision that I was not going to cry. And I simply stepped back in line, and something really, really important happened in that moment. I didn't get it then. I was 6 years old. There's no way I would have gotten it then. But what happened was I subconsciously made up in my mind that I wasn't going to cry and that I wasn't going to allow anyone to hurt me and that I would stay in my place. And that's what I did. When I look at things that happened from that date up until that 42 years, there were several things that happened that I should have spoke up for myself that I didn't. But there was also something else going on. And this was the true me, that gut feeling, that thing that is within us that no one outside could kill. They killed they halted what was going on outside, but what was inside, they couldn't. They couldn't stop. So instead of speaking, what I started doing was writing. I started writing at 6 years old. And I would write these stories, and most of them would be, I would write these letters to God and, tell him what was going on and things like that. And I would write poetry, and which I share on a video sometimes, some of my poetry. And I would write, and when I was 18, I got brave enough to, I was a closet writer. So when I got 18, I was brave enough to share one of my poems with someone. And they told me, they said, it's good, I guess, but I don't see how you would ever make a living from it. And what I didn't have the maturity to know then, and it took me quite a while to figure out I wasn't writing to make a living. I was writing to live. But because of that, I stepped back in the place that had been put in, and I didn't write another word for 20 years. Something that I love more than anything in the world is writing. I love words. But I didn't write again for 20 years until I was 38. And during that whole time, it was that gut thing that was inside was constantly fighting and tearing at me to try to get me to write, to come back alive. And I didn't. I just, I didn't write until it got to the point at 30, when I was 38, it was so strong that I could no longer deny it. And I found myself at that point. You know, they say God always send you angels, and I believe that because at 38, I found myself one day lost and wandering around in a mall, and a man walked up to me and started talking to me, and you know, uh, me with my relationship thing that at that time, I was cutting him everywhere. But for some reason, maybe because he was an angel, he didn't allow me to cut him all up. He kept talking to me. And he eventually asked me that day, what is it that, what's, what is it that's bothering you? At the time I was going through, I knew my marriage was about to end. So I was going through that, but that wasn't what was bothering me. I needed something, but I didn't know what. And he asked me, what is it that he said, everyone have something in them that they love to do. What is it in you that you really would love to do? And I told him, I said, I really, I used to love to write. And he said, well, why don't you write? He said, can you write? I said, yeah, I'm really good. I can write. He said, well, why don't you write? And I said, well, it's a long story. And I left it at that. The next day at my work, I received two binders and a pack of mechanical pencils with one word that said write. And I started writing, and I have been writing ever since. Not only did I start writing, But I start reclaiming my soul, my spirit. I start asking myself, how did I get here? How did I get here from there, from that 6-year-old girl? And that's my question to you today. Wherever you are, if you're not, you might be in the exact place you want to be. You might not have that question. You might have already answered it. But if you are not where you want to be, if you're not where you would like to be, or where you know you should be, if you are not living that impossible dream, because that impossible dream is possible. I promise you, I am proof that that impossible dream is possible. This is coming from a woman that walked away from everything she had worked for and owned at 42 and rebuilt her life to have a better life than she could ever dream of. All the all the things that I love that I want to do, I have that opportunity now. I mean, I purchased my well, all of that is other videos that we are uncovered. There's so many layers to the onion. But for this video, my question is, do you know how you got from there to here, wherever you are? And are you at the place you want to be? If you are, I salute you, I congratulate you. But if you are not, if you are not living that impossible dream, that gut feeling that's inside of you, if you're not living that, ask yourself, how did I get from there to here? It might be a little scary, it might be uncomfortable, but once you figure it out, you can start moving forward. You can reframe that basement from a struggle to a foundation, and you can start going forward. Okay, so I've been running my mouth long enough for this video. I want to leave you with, you don't have to be invisible. I see you. You don't have to be silent. I hear you. And you never have to walk alone. I'll walk with you. This is Coach AW saying, have a great day. Figure out what path you have taken to get from where you are to from where you were to where you are, and start thinking about where you want to go. Have a great day. Be well. Sending you love and blessings. Bye.